It's coming up to 10 minutes after 8 here on the AM show. At least something for you to smile about. And Roland went to Bishop Herman. How long ago, Roland?
21 years ago.
Can you recite the national anthem?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Are you stunning me up or something?
No, I'm not.
Well,
so,
we have great conversations.
No, we know that we always have great conversations. Let's hear you.
We have great conversations on the show.
Let's go.
And for many of the times, we
Let's
have
go.
to take a, no.
Roland, what you're saying is not fair.
No,
I asked the question.
So we have
you answered.
We have a lot of things. Well, we'll prepare.
Why
for
are you running away? That's unscripted right there. live unscripted. Roland running away from the national anthem.
Pledge or national anthem?
I said national anthem. Okay. That's what the young schoolboy was trying to.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So we'll constantly be updating you on all the things that will be happening. Yeah, on all the things that will be happening. Please get interactive on Facebook, JoyNews on TV. We also have a Twitter handle at JoyNews on TV, and you can always reach us live through our channel on YouTube, My Joy Online TV.
Yeah. The next conversation we want to bring to you is also a very worrying one. There are fishermen who are complaining and sharing the challenges, the difficulties that they've had to encounter in trying to get fish from the sea. We want to hear from the fishermen. There's a group that's also warning us that very soon people will go fishing, they will come back with nothing, and that time is just around the corner. I want us to first of all hear some fishermen speaking to Richard Kwadwonyako in the Central Region.
First year could mount them. Then I'm not been put at Tembia number Tembia get first year to
At first it wasn't like that. Now we don't get fish when we go to sea anymore. The cycle people sweep all the fish and bring them here. The small fishes are all brought here. The Chinese people always get a lot of cash.
My farmer way is here. I don't know, 44. Yo, my way is here. It's
I am 44 years. I have 6 children. The work is no longer lucrative. I can no longer look after my children in school. If they don't stop the illegal practices, there wouldn't be any fish left for anybody. It is a cycle people. Government should do something about them.
It's the monk of 4 them. One stop one. No, woman, and son can die first man. Yes, I can. And all you be 200 and something. Ne cycle boating. The
cycle boats sweep all the fish from here to Takrady. They leave no fish for us to harvest. The Chinese boats are really wreaking havoc. There was an experienced fisherman who warned us some time ago that the fortunes in the fishing business would dwindle, considering the rates the cycle people are doing their business. Something urgently needs to be done.
The petrolers, the government can talk to the owners of the petrolers, can move to far away. Then fish they come down. Then can we go make take small. Then there's if the government not help the canoe, sir.
First, by 6 and I'm no quiet. No, when you need them first. Both tackers now Ugustro. I'm one free now. What do you do? Or none no cost in him for our corner. Into Ama in walk away. So no, when they men from the Sabia walk where they are. In now, if your wages go to walk when they were near Bia. And so Ama, ya watch for the often my farmer was school now. So Ama answer your watching.
So, fishermen telling us about this great difficulty. But Matilda Bamaga, our colleague, also sat down with 2 people who have deep knowledge and insight into this and the trend, where the path that we're going. And they say very soon, if nothing happens, they want us to this to also become a national campaign, like the way we've done with Galamsey, because this is equally on the same scale. So we want to hear more about the findings and what the way forward is.
About our depleted fish stock.
It's a conversation about the depleting fish stock. it's a concern that has been raised. In fact, among Ghanaians, particularly those within the fishing industry, many have called on government, especially to put up measures to address the situation. Others say it is an issue which demands urgent intervention from key stakeholders in this industry. This morning, we're going to have a brief conversation about how we got here, why are fish stock depleting, what is the way forward, and how to salvage the fishing industry. This morning, I'm being joined by Kofi Agboga. He is the director for Henimpoano, and then I also have Steve Trent. He is the executive director for Environmental Justice Foundation. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. So I'll first of all want to find out, how did we get here?
Well, that's a very difficult question to ask, but to put it simply, we have just fished too hard, overfished the stocks, and that has led us to the situation which we are in.
If you say we have overfished the stock, the fishes are meant to be fished. So if you say we have overfished, how exactly do you mean?
Well, I mean overfished because for the big sea you have, it can carry so much fish. And to sustain this fish into perpetuity, if you take some out, you need to leave some to procreate for the next year's cohort, and on and on and on. But if you catch too much of them, then what it means is that you are not able to replenish what you have taken.
So it's more or less like fishing the fingerlings, if I should say. Is that
really the fingerlings? Let me put in this analogy that if you have a community with so many young ladies and you begin to kill them, those that are of productive age, what is going to happen is that in the next year and the next years, you are not going to have your grandchildren, and that is exactly what the situation is.
Okay, Mr. Trent, I'll be coming to you shortly, but I still want to find out where exactly, we know along the coast, there are a number of communities which depend on fishing for their basic livelihood. But let me first find out from you, which areas are we seeing this?
It is a national concern. A few decades ago, Ghana was self-sufficient in its fish production. As people fished and more people enter in the industry, it became so lucrative that everybody thought it was the way to go. So everybody started building boats. There were no regulations. People just entered the ocean and began fishing and fishing and fishing without any regulation as to who will go in. Take, for example, if you want to bring cars on the road, you have to license them, you have to get a certain number of things. But for us, though the law is there, it is an it is an open access regime, and anybody can build a boat. As I speak to you now, there are close to 15,000 boats in our seas, and there are over 200,000 fishermen. Meanwhile, we don't have that much fish to go around, so therefore we find ourselves in this.
Before we even come to the regulation or the regulators as to what is being done to address the situation, let me find out from you, Mr. Trent. He is saying that we have overfished. We have guidelines that is supposed to, one way or the other, guide us as to the way we should go about with the fishing, but it doesn't appear to be the case. Let me pick your first thought on what you make of this development.
Well, I think the first thing, as Kofi has said, too many people fishing too few fish. And I think we need to remember that these fishermen feed Ghana. This is a vital resource for the country, and so it's a national priority. It's not just a coastal one. But I think it is a complex issue, but we can simplify elements of it. What we need to see now is more effective management and more effective enforcement. And the first point that the enforcement officers need to look at is the big industrial trawlers. They are causing problems for the local artisanal fishermen that encourages them to fish in dangerous and unsustainable ways. But that they are facing a situation where their livelihoods are at risk. This is how they feed their families, how they support themselves. So we need to be sympathetic to that. But if we target these big industrial trawlers that are catching fish, often using illegal methods, they are engaging in other illegal activities which are causing further...
We would even come to the illegal activities that go on the high seas, because we know a lot of them are also engaged in light fishing and all that, which have been of concern to a lot of us.
Well, there are issues with the semi-industrial vessels and the smaller vessels using lights, using dynamite, using poison. But as I say, very often the reason for that is because they're finding so few fish because the big industrial boats have taken them. So what we need to do is look at those industrial boats, and Ghana has the capacity to do this.
One major concern that has been raised over the period is the concerns by our everyday fishermen who are complaining about the fact that there is low catch and all that. With all this, you are talking about that this low, we have overfished. If we want to streamline the activities of these fishermen, before we even come to the bigger vessels, is this not a way, or one way or the other, that is going to deprive these people of their livelihood? Because it's already a concern that is coming up.
Good question. But when you don't deprive them of their livelihoods and there's no fish, what will they do? You have to think about that. Yes, it is good to ensure that all fishermen are getting some fish, but in any situation, if there are no controls, it gets out of hand. Now, like we have been saying this morning, too many fishermen, too many boats chasing too few fish, to the extent that the fish feel the pressure. So you need to release the pressure valve a little, and you do so by looking at mechanisms such as reducing the effort. How many people go to sea, how much can they fish, and what can they fish. Once you begin to put in these measures, you are on the road to sustaining your fisheries. But if you leave it free for all, they take everything, and tomorrow the same people...
How bad is the situation? Is this something you would, as an industry player, is it something that you would describe as a national crisis?
It is more than a crisis. The fisheries in Ghana, especially the fish for the poor people, the mackerel, what is popularly called salmon, the Keta schoolboys, which is your favorite, I believe, and then the sardinellas, the eban or the kankrama, and others have all been overfished to the extent that the highest in our history was around 1998. And since then, we continue to fish so hard that at this point, we who look at the figures and in terms of the biology of the fisheries, we can say that the fisheries have collapsed. So we need to do a few things to bring back the fish. We cannot give fishermen money, but we can come up with policies that can put fish back into the sea.
Mr. Trent, he has already outlined what the issues are, the challenges that and he has described it as a national crisis. Yeah. How do you think this issue can best be addressed?
I think you can make a very good start by dealing, as I say, with the industrial trawlers, by reducing both the number of those trawlers and the way they are fishing.
How do these industrial trawlers get in? Because I know that they can't just have their way on the sea. They would definitely have to go through someone, or they would definitely have to follow the regulators. Okay, you would answer that. Okay, so how do we get this industry trawlers coming in?
Well, you see, we have a vast ocean. Our fishermen are supposed to fish in areas where we call the inshore exclusive zone. That is reserved for the canoe fishermen. But beyond that, there are deep areas that our canoe fishermen cannot fish. So we give access to others who have the ability to do this fishing. And therefore, Ghana has agreements with other countries. And particularly on our books, we have what we call the joint venture arrangements where Ghanaians can team up with others who have the capability to fish those fishes. And those fishes are supposed to be at a distance or a depth which our locals cannot fish. And therefore, through this agreement, you allow those vessels to come in, but then you have to control how many are coming in.
But are they regulated? It's something, it's beyond talking about. We have the regulation, we have the policy that is supposed to guide these vessels when they come onto our coast. But I'm asking, do we implement these protocols that they are supposed to observe?
We are supposed to implement them. Ghana has by far the best regulations and laws concerning these areas.
So why are we where we are now?
Implementation is a problem. Implementation of these. I mean, if a foreigner comes and says, I own 51% shares in this company, the Ghanaian comes and says, I own 49%. Do we even, from the Registrar General's office, check whether the net worth of this Ghanaian, has he paid taxes that will warrant that he can own 49%?
Mr. Agboga, who is failing us in this regard?
We are failing ourselves.
When you say we, who exactly? Because I want us to be able to hold people accountable for this situation, which you are describing as a national crisis.
I would say all of us. I cannot take myself out, but we have the fishery regulators, we have the government, we have the ministry. They are supposed to be the policemen of this industry. You will have to go out there and ask people in industry, people in government, people at the ministry, what they are doing to support this effort to make sure we have fish back in our sea. And you begin to see the lapses. Sometimes it appears that we have all gone to sleep on the job. We are not supposed to do what we have to do. The other time I had a meeting with one of the senior ministers, and I said, look, on our law books, it says that every canoe must be registered and licensed. Section 52 of the law is very clear. Since
do we have that?
In 2002, that section.
Since the law was passed when?
2002. That aspect, that section of the law has not been invoked. And anybody just gets up, builds a boat, and go to sea. And if you look at the graphics or the statistics, the boat numbers just keep going up and up and up.
What are the figures now?
Well, from the national statistics, it's about 13,000 canoes. But I believe when you do the real absolute count, you may have some 2,000 extras that are unaccounted for. So the numbers are quite high. Under normal circumstances, we should be having a maximum of about 8,500 to 9,000 boats. Now we have gone to about 15,000. So you
can... Great conversation, great insights. But that we don't want it to end there. We want to take an action and let the appropriate authorities also deal with this matter. We'll have many conversations on the back of this in the coming days. Matilda Mamaka, having that conversation for us.